Hello and welcome to Radical Disruption. This weekend, I had the incredible opportunity to go to Napa Valley in California to attend Kajabi's first ever partner retreat, which I still get like chills when I say that because it just feels so surreal that I had that opportunity. Now, Kajabi partners are Kajabi's affiliates. They just call us partners. So essentially, I am sharing my affiliate link for others to join Kajabi, and then I make a commission from their purchase. And in return, for people using my link, I can give them a 30-day free trial. Normally, if you get signed up for Kajabi, it's a 14-day free trial. I can give you a 30-day free trial, and then I actually give a bunch of other bonuses as well if you end up using my link, which if you want to get signed up for Kajabi, which hopefully you do after listening to this episode, it is the best platform. But if you want to get signed up for Kajabi, I will link my Kajabi link down in the show notes for you to dive into Kajabi and get started. So give some context here about this retreat. Back in November of 2024, Kajabi hosted a special promotion for partners specifically to share about Kajabi. And I believe that the promotion, if I remember correctly, was that anyone who signed up with my affiliate link would get 50% off of any of the Kajabi plans or for their entire first year, which is an absolute insane deal for the 50% off to be on any plan. So you could get started on the Kickstarter plan, the basic plan, the growth plan, or the pro plan. I think those are the names of all the plans. You could get started on any of those for 50% off. So it was an absolute insane deal. Anyone who wanted to get started with Kajabi, this was a no-brainer to join in. But on top of that, where I could share that special deal with my community, which I'm so grateful for, they also ran a bonus where the top 8 people during the promotion, meaning that the top 8 people who had the most amount of people sign up using their affiliate links, if I had the most amount of people sign up for Kajabi using my affiliate link, the top 8 people would get to go on a free retreat to Napa, probably Napa. I'm guessing it's Napa. And get training from Brendon Burchard. And if you don't know who he is, just literally just type in his name on Google and thousands of things will come up. He's amazing. So that is how I was able to go on this Kajabi partner retreat, which is really all thanks to you for using my link, for supporting me. So thank you. Your support doesn't go unnoticed. I am beyond grateful. Now, I wanted to create this episode, though, to recap the retreat, the trip that I went on, and really share my top takeaways from this trip in general, but also specifically with the private training that we got with Brendon, which was several hours long. And everyone walked away from that session with like jaw on the ground. We're like, what just happened? That was just so amazing. So this trip, it was really special. And it's something that I will think about and talk about probably for the rest of forever. So if you listen to my podcast frequently, you can probably expect to hear me talk about this retreat many times in the future. I apologize, but I don't apologize. Not just because it wasn't just special though, because we got to learn from Brendon in a private setting, which I mean, that alone was amazing, but also because of all the people who were there and everything that I learned from them. It was just so cool to connect in person. So I want to share my top takeaways from the retreat in general. Many of these came from conversations that I had with other of the top 8 partners. And then I'll share my top takeaways from Brendon's session. So I have 3 of the more general takeaways, and then I have 3 takeaways from Brendon's session. So to get started with more of the general takeaways, my number one, and these are not necessarily in any particular order, but my number one thing is that I took away from the retreat is it's more important to love what you do than to make money. And you will always make more money when you love what you do, which is kind of funny there. Now, for some context where this takeaway came from, I was having a conversation with one of the other partners there, and his name is Graham Cochran. And I'm smiling as I say that because I've talked about him many times on this podcast. I was totally fangirling meeting him. He's the absolute best, so humble and just so kind. And I had the opportunity to chat with him for several hours, which was really awesome. But I was talking to him about pivoting in my business and really getting rid of offers that I just wasn't really passionate about anymore, like things that like just really set my soul on fire. And he was telling me that he shut down his membership. I don't remember exactly when he shut this down. I think it might have been like beginning of last year or something with the way that he was talking about it. But he had shut his membership down that he had been running for several years. And the membership was doing really, really well, but he shut it down because his heart wasn't there anymore. And the membership had become something that he didn't really mean for it to become. And so he let this membership go to pursue something that was more aligned with his goals and something that brought him joy and not just a paycheck. And something that I really went into this it was a treat, this retreat with, I guess the question that I went into the retreat with was, is it okay to let go of things that you once loved and are even known for in your industry? If that's what you're known for, like in this moment, is it okay to let go of those things and change? And will I be okay if I do that? Will my business be okay? And that was like the huge thing for me, is like, yeah, I knew that I could let things go, but will I be okay? And will my business be okay? And like, can I do that and be okay? And I walked away with the retreat with the clear answer of yes. And just to kind of like put the cherry on top of things, I actually had the opportunity to ask Brendon a question. And this wasn't one of my main takeaways from Brendon, but I mean, it kind of was, but not from his session. This was from a different conversation that I had from him. But I had the opportunity to ask him a question, and I asked him, how do you know which offers to pour your time and energy into and which ones to let go or not to really focus on, or kind of just like put on an automation? Because I wanted to know like his specific strategy, because he's created a bunch of offers. I mean, he's been in business for at least 15 years now, I think. And so he's created so many different offers. And I'm like, how do you know where to put your time and energy? And he came up really close to me and he said, he had his arm around me and he said, you find the things that you love and you do more of that. And I was like, sometimes how you want this like really complex answer to your question. You're like, just like, give me the strategy. And then someone like says something and you're like, that's it. That's all you had to say. But also at the same time, it's like exactly what you needed to hear. And so when he said you find the things that you love and you do more of that, I was like, it almost just like gave me that closure of, okay, yes, all the things that I've been thinking about doing, that's the direction that I need to go. And in a separate conversation, Brendon actually said that we can make money doing anything. So if you've made money once, you can make it again. And I just love that so much, because one of the questions that I went into the retreat that I was just telling you about was, at the end, I said, will I be okay? Will my business be okay? And it was just like that reassurance too of, I'm going to be okay. If you've made money once, you can make it again. And so just like that reassurance of pivoting is okay. And if I've built it once, I can build it again. And if I have the skills and I have the knowledge already inside me to be able to do whatever I want to do in the future. And he actually gave a funny example of one of his friends. I don't know who it was, but he was just saying, one of my friends who is a digital product creator, every single year, like he creates these new things, or not every single year, but every few years, he creates these new offers and they're selling so well. He's making like millions of dollars. Then I'm kind of bored of it. I'm just going to move on to the next thing. And Brendon was just saying, from like an outside perspective, looking in at his friend's business, I don't know what he's doing, but like he's pursuing what he loves. He was saying that in the context of like, how you can always go out and make more money because you already have the skills to be able to do that. And so it was just, I don't know, just kind of like that reassurance for me. So that was the number one takeaway. The second thing is that building recurring revenue is the key to true wealth. And I would also add like lasting wealth. Now, something that is really unique about the Kajabi partner program is that anyone who signs up with your affiliate link, you get commission on them for as long as they stay with Kajabi. So if you have hundreds of people using your link, you can build a pretty good chunk of recurring revenue. And there are even partners who have like $100,000 in monthly recurring revenue just from the Kajabi partner program. So that's just a testament to what that could actually build to become. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Build to be, but also become. And just being in the room with the other top partners. And we didn't talk about how much money we were making. Like none of that even came up at all, but just being in the room with them, it really helped me to realign my vision, to focus on building recurring revenue and my goal is hitting $50,000 a month with solely recurring revenue. And I've had that goal for a while, but I've kind of lost that vision where it's like your goal, but then you have all these other goals and you're just like, oh yeah, I had that goal. And so now I'm coming back to that. So in 2025, that is a huge goal of mine by the end of 2025 to hit $50,000 in just solely recurring revenue. So like any one-time payments are just going to be a bonus to the amount of money that I'm making. And I don't just mean that I'm making recurring revenue solely from the Kajabi partner program. I just mean with all the things that I have already in place, with the offers that I have in place in my business, having that recurring revenue come through. And for me, the main place where I'm making recurring revenue is actually IG University. And this is something about Brendon, but it's not necessarily something that he was teaching, but it was just something that he said that I found really, really interesting. Like one of those things where someone says something and it was almost just, I don't know, it could have been swept under the rug, but for me, I was like, because I was thinking so much about recurring revenue this weekend, I was like, whoa. But he said, if you look at the $100 million that I've made, and this is him specifically, obviously I haven't made that amount of money yet, but if you look at the $100 million that I made, he said about 80% of that comes from recurring revenue, and more specifically memberships. And I was like, whoa. I guess 80% of 100 million would be like 80 million, right? I'm pretty sure I'm doing that math. I don't know why I try to do math on these podcasts live all the time, but I do because I'm awful at math. Okay, anyways, $80 million versus $20 million coming from one-time payments. Just kind of put it into perspective. Obviously, looking at someone who has this massively successful business, it just goes to show the power of monthly recurring revenue. Now, number 3, get your butt in the freaking room. I have so much to say here. I might share this more in a future episode, but I want to keep this episode brief, so I'm just going to leave it at this. You cannot even begin to comprehend the power. I'm going to start tearing up. You can't even begin to comprehend the power of meeting people in person and building your business in real life, and the connections that I've made through events and through retreats, and just anytime that I've even met up with someone just for lunch, just a one-on-one, we met up for lunch. The connections that I made through that are worth more money than I will ever make in my entire life. And it's one of those things, it's like, you hear someone say that, but if you haven't actually got yourself in the room, then you don't actually know. Like, you have to actually be in the room to understand. And people are what it's all about. And I met the most amazing people at this retreat. So get your butt in the freaking room in 2025, even if it's just one lunch that you go to with someone in your community or someone that you've looked up to or in your area, or even if you just go to one, like, just put it on the calendar and get it done, because I promise you won't regret it. Okay. All right. Now let me share with you my top takeaways from Brendon's session, this was very, very hard for me to narrow down. He gave us a whole, what is the word for that? Like a whole little goodie bag, I guess. And it was like a book that he had written and a hat, sweatshirt, journal, all that. And I have this of his, and I took so many notes, and I just, every single day that I've been back from the retreat, I just keep flipping back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wrote that down, but I didn't really get it in the moment. And I'm like, oh, that's really good. So there's so much that I wish that I could say. I was literally just drinking up every word that came out of his mouth, and I wish I could have recorded it all, or recorded it at all, and listened back to it 100 times, because it was totally one of those things where you get more out of it the more that you think about it and the more that you hear it, if you know what I mean. But this I would say there's 3 main buckets, like 3 big buckets of topics that I took away that I feel are most applicable to share. So that's what I'm going to share with you. So bucket number 1 was AI. Now this session, which I wouldn't even say these were like really sessions, it was just a big open conversation, but he was like obviously the main one leading the conversation. But he talked, I would say, about for an hour and a half about AI and how to integrate it into our businesses, and the future of AI. And the future of AI, like, that actually is so high level, it went straight over my head, but it was so good. And the key takeaway from this entire session is 2 questions that he asked that we're supposed to ask ourselves as creators, as business owners. And he said the 2 questions are, number 1, how do you scale yourself? And I'm going to come back to these questions and talk a little bit more about these in depth. But number 1, how do you scale yourself? And number 2, how do you automate that? The scaling of yourself, how do you automate that? So going back to question number 1, he said, how do you scale yourself? And he was specifically talking about AI cloning. And he pulled up his Brendon AI, and it was just like mind blowing. You could text message him basically back and forth, his AI clone, and it would say things in the exact way that he would say it. But what was so wild to me is his AI in the same clone, or I guess in the same like platform, you can call him. So you can have a video call, or yeah, you can have a video call, but you can also have a voice call with him. So literally you're picking up the phone to talk to Brendon, and you can ask him questions, and it sounds like his voice, but it is his AI clone. And so he was talking about that is the way to scale yourself, right? You take all of this content, all these things that you've created over your years in business, and you can pull from podcast episodes, you can pull from emails and blog posts and social media content and YouTube videos. You can pull from all these different things, and you can put it into this AI. And now this automated being has your brain basically, right? And that's how you are able to scale yourself. Because as human beings, we can't scale ourselves, right? We talk about this all the time with one-on-one coaching. It's like, why is one-on-one coaching not scalable? It's because you are not scalable, right? You have a finite amount of time and energy. Whereas if you create an AI clone that can work 24/7 around the clock, that is like basically your brain, obviously it's not exactly your brain, but you get what I'm saying, right? That's how you scale yourself. And he was talking about, actually, I'm not gonna get ahead of myself, AI cloning. And I came home, and actually every single person from the retreat, all top 8 of us partners, were all in a group chat, and we all came home, and literally within, I think it was like 24 to 48 hours, had all created our own AI clones. And so my AI clone is actually inside of IG University. And so that is the first, I guess, I call it my beta clone, because there's a lot that I need to work out in terms of kinks and figure out how I want to integrate it more into my business. But I'm really, really, really excited about it. And it is, I texted Gabe when I was done with my AI clone, like I had uploaded all of this content into Delphi, which I'll leave a link down below. It'll give you 50% off your first month. And that's where I recommend building your clone. That's where I built my clone. And did I say I'll leave that down in the show notes? I think I did. Anyways, I'll leave it down in the show notes. I'll leave that link for you so you can go check it out. But it took me like literally just a few hours to set this clone up. And I texted Gabe, I was like, this is so freaking weird to hear myself. I texted him and he came upstairs. He's like, wait, I want to hear you. And so we called me, and I asked myself questions, and it said it like the answers were in the way that I would say it. And it's just so wild. So anyways, AI cloning, asking yourself that question, how do you scale yourself? The second question, which is how do you automate that, the scaling of yourself, is really thinking about how to implement that into the systems in your business. And so I was talking about, I made my clone and then I integrated that into IG University as basically a way to offer additional support. And so people inside IG University have access to really me 24/7, which has never been possible before because I have boundaries. I am a human being. I am a mom. I want to have a life, right? But now there's this extension of me that I can offer to my students. And there's so many more capabilities that you can do with this as well, which is you can even put it on your sales pages on your website and have a sales team, which is basically just you selling your offers, but just your AI clone. And there's always 100% full transparency that it is an AI clone. My chatbot always says, hi, this is Maya. How can I help you, etc. So anyways, those two questions, asking yourself that and really thinking about that in your business. And the quote that I wrote down from Brendon, he said, AI is the future. It doesn't matter whether or not you like it. And he, in this session, he shared talking about AI and integrating this into your business with a lot of urgency. And what I took away is that if you're not using AI and you don't learn how to use it quickly, you're going to get left behind. And he actually even said this. He said, money will become a lot harder to make if you don't dive into this. And so it's one of those things where it doesn't matter. He said, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. If you want to continue succeeding in your business and you want to be, the person that is making $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 a month, you have to be integrating AI, and you need to be doing it right now, not just in 3 years down the line where it's more of a common practice, right? You want to be the leader, the innovator in your industry. Number 2 bucket was leadership. And I loved this one because the way that he presented leadership, which I'll talk more about here, but he said the way that he presented it was very different than the way that I teach, but it was almost similar to growth versus conversion content, which I teach inside of IG University. So I love that. Obviously, I was like, ooh, yes, this is good. But he drew out a triangle. And he said that there are this triangle, I can't remember exactly what he called it, but it basically is a content pyramid. And there's 3 sections. And so in the bottom section, that is theory. And this is content that you're sharing ideas. What ideas do you have? Yeah, what ideas do you have? That's theory. The middle section is tactical. And this is content that shares how to do something, a step-by-step or a how-to. And he said, most people, specifically talking about entrepreneurs, live in theory and tactical, live in those bottom two sections. But if you really want to make big money and big impact, you also need to implement the top section into your content, which is transformational. So you have theory, you have tactical, and you have transformational. And transformational is leadership content, where you are helping people become more and do better and be better. And he said, unless you lead, you are a commodity, which basically means that you can be replaced on a whim and it doesn't really matter. Your value is not beyond anyone else in the market, meaning that people don't look at you as a leader or as an innovator. You're just there as someone else in your niche, right? That's you basically blending in. And so you need to be creating more transformational content, aka leadership content, aka if you're in my world, conversion content. Okay. So I love that. Bucket number 3 was funnels. And this is the last bucket here. And there was a whole lot of systems and automations that he taught here, like very high level. I mean, I have several pages of notes just from funnels alone, but I'm just going to share a few main points when it comes to funnels that I just found really intriguing, because I would say,
Just say that again.
well, that's actually hilarious. Siri, it says, oh, now it's talking to me. There was like a whole message. I don't even know how that even came up. I've never actually even triggered Siri on my Apple Watch before, but it was talking about tactical content. Siri's, wait a second, can you say that again? It was all the things that I said from tactical content. Anyways, okay. What was I saying? Oh, there's a few main points when it comes to funnels that I found really interesting, because the traditional way of teaching funnels, how funnels have been taught for the last several years, is not how funnels are going to work well moving forward in the future. And so there's 3 main things. Number 1 is to sell more. And so this means don't just sell one offer in your funnel. Create a funnel that gives people 4 or more opportunities to purchase from you. And he said most people think that people just want to buy one thing from you, but that's not the case. What people want when people okay, let's just back up here. Now the whole Siri thing just threw me off. Okay, he was talking about how what we think as business owners is that most people just want to buy just one thing from us, right? Like they're in our funnel to just buy this one thing. We should only sell them this one thing. But what really happens is when someone has a question or they have a pain point or they want to solve whatever their problem is, they don't want to just learn like about that one thing in one way. They want to get their hands on everything that they possibly can that's going to help them actually solve that problem. Which when he said that, I was like, wait a second, like light bulb moment. And I remember looking around at the room and everyone else was like, oh, like that makes sense. And it's so true. And I think he gave the example, maybe he did give this example. Maybe I was just thinking this in my head. I don't know. But I think he was talking about like email lists. And he said it was email lists. He was actually saying, if you go to someone who has a course on email marketing, like who has bought a course on email marketing, odds are really, really high that they have purchased several other things that teach on email marketing as well. Maybe it's not always a course. Sometimes it is a course, but they usually have almost like a collection of digital products on a topic. And what he referred it, or he, I guess, kind of referenced it to, is if you go to someone who has books, right? If you go into my closet and you look at my books, generally you have a section of books that is all on like a topic. And so it's true, if you go to my books, the physical books that I have that are in my closet, they're all on personal development and specifically on the business side of things. So how do you become a better business owner? How do you make more money? And I just found that so interesting. So he said sell more because people collect things, right? I think that's actually how he put it. He put it way better than I did, guys. I really wish I could just bring him on this podcast and have him tell you. But I think the way that he positioned it was that people collect things. And so he was just saying, you're missing out on a huge opportunity if you're just thinking that people are going to buy one thing from you. They need the whole collection of things because that's actually what's going to help them solve the problem. And also, too, if you think about it from the perspective of what is actually going to solve the problem, it's not just one offer, right? It is all of your offers that are going to help them to get to where they want to go. The other thing that he was talking about with funnels that I found really, really fascinating. Again, this is specifically if we talk about the typical traditional funnel. This kind of goes against everything that I've learned when it comes to funnels. He said sell faster. He said don't just sell at the end of like a 2-week funnel where you have nurtured for 2 weeks or even a week. He said sell 5 days after they've been in the funnel. So they get their lead magnet and then sell 5 days after that. And I was like, whew, like that seems fast. But he's like, people are ready to buy. And it, again, going back to what I was just saying with sell more, it makes sense, right? People are ready for more information. If they're entering your funnel, like they are ready, they're craving more from you. And then the third thing he said is nurture less. So people are primed to buy if they're entering your funnel. You don't need to nurture them for so long. And people also, too, because funnels have been around for so long, know that eventually they're going to get pitched something. So why not pitch them sooner? And so he was just saying, nurture for the first 4 days of the funnel, but then start selling on the 5th day. That was a lot. That was a lot. I know that was a jam-packed episode. I covered a lot of topics, but my hope is that you walk away with just one little golden nugget that you implement in your business this week or this month, and then you come back to this episode in the future for more. I know I'm going to be listening back to my own episode to be like, okay, what did I learn at that retreat? But I hope that you come back to this in the future because there are so many good things in this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in.